Hey guys, so Kevin's not here today, so we're actually not going to have a show. Sorry about that. Let's get into it. So, what do you object about? Get that out of here. This is JJ. He's been in one of the episodes before. What do you object about? What's your issue?
All right, my issue is about the fact that you said that pro league gaming is kind of stupid.
That's exactly what I said. Exact quote.
That's right.
No. Okay.
That's exactly what you said.
So, what's your opinion on the issue?
My opinion is that it is my opinion is that it is a fruition of just anything that you would see in any kind of sport or any kind of activity that has a strong fan base following.
Okay, I agree with that too. What we were talking about in the episode you're specifically discussing is if it's good for the consumer. And I think it could be, but I also think it could lead to a lack of diversification.
Okay.
Because if people see, if last time I said producers, but what I meant to say was publishers. If publishers see a ton of companies making money off of them, they're gonna, like, let's say MOBAs, they're gonna go for a ton of MOBAs, and they want to get competitive gaming, so they're gonna try and shoehorn it in. Mm-hmm. And we're getting a bunch of crappy games right now. I mean, there's some gems like Overwatch coming out of it, but then you have your Battleborns, you have your other games like this.
Right.
And I think it's just going to be another trend that we're going to have to kind of weather through of getting all these games because people are trying to cash in on, competitive's hot right now.
Right.
So that's my issue with it.
Right. But that's just part of the natural evolution with anything that has hype. Like for movies, for instance, right now there is an insane amount of superhero movies coming out.
Let me stop you right there.
Okay.
Maybe there is, but it's not even close to the amount of Westerners that were coming out. The Western movies?
Right.
We were getting over 40 a year.
Right.
Over 40. We're getting, less than 12 this year? So you know what? I see what you're saying, but you're not. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that insane of an amount.
Okay, yeah. So the amount of movies is smaller for the superheroes in comparison to the Westerners. I don't know the specifics as to why. I would assume just because bigger budgets, less movies in general. But it's still the same thing, right? Because there's still that cash cow for superhero things, like even things that you wouldn't even think about for superheroes. Like, one of them which was a good one, was Hancock. I actually enjoyed that one, but just completely out of the blue, just kind of thrown in there because it's superhero. They saw that there was that.
How long did a Hancock come out, JJ? That was like 2008.
Well, I can't think of the more recent movie with Will Smith, because Will Smith is a superhero.
Are you talking about Suicide Squad?
Yes,
He's gonna be
Suicide
Squad.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Suicide Squad.
Okay.
Yes.
You have trouble staying on topic, don't you?
I'm right on topic. Anyways, so back to the game.
Back to esports. Okay.
All right, back to the esports. So, yes, there's people cashing in on, trying to come out with the games to try and make them big and, just bring in as much money as possible. Mm-hmm. That's definitely a natural evolution. And what you're going to see from that, though, is that, as you mentioned, there's going to be some golden gems that are actually going to come out of that whole play style. And there is going to be somebody who's going to go and say, you know what, there's so many people in here, I now have room to go and try out this different platform, and then that'll be able to kick off and just have that advantage that it wouldn't otherwise have.
Right, but that being said, I think that's one specific way of looking at games, but it's not the way I like to look at games. Okay. Some people like to do games for a competitive aspect, and that's fine. That's great if you want to do that. I personally don't get anything out of that myself. I'm kind of a competitive person, but when it comes to most things like that, I'm just competitive with myself, so I want to do better. So what I want from games is I want a story, right? And I treat games like books. And I know you're a pretty heavy reader. I'm not really. I get most of my stories from games,
right?
And I think it's a very powerful medium for telling stories that we're not really touching. And I hope that this infatuation currently with competitive gaming doesn't detract from moving forward to getting better stories in games. Because, sure, stories are getting better in games. Let's look at Uncharted 4 that came out that everyone's praising the story, but it's pretty much the story from National Treasure 2, which was kind of panned as being not a very good story. You know what I mean? So if you compare the stories in games to the stories in movies, they're not really, in the AAA space, they're not really stacking up at this point, and that's a problem. And I feel as though if we get all this emphasis on competitive gaming, it's going to detract from that, and it's going to detract from the more important part of games being viewed as art and given the respect that they deserve. So that's my issue with it.
Right.
But there's another issue that I also have with esports. I think it suffers the most unfortunate name it ever could. It should not be called esports. It should be called competitive gaming. Because I'm saying it right now, it's not a sport. It's not a sport. It's as much a sport as chess is a sport.
Right. Right. Or golf.
Yeah, exactly.
Golf players.
But I mean, they're not really sports. I think the definition of sports, I believe, or at least my understanding, is that it requires some form of athleticism. And I mean, I guess you could get into the fact of, oh, they have quick fingers, or they have things like fast reaction time. But it's not really
physical movement. You're talking about physical movement.
Like actually, like a rugby player tackling someone, that is an amazing amount of athleticism.
Right.
So I don't know. That's where I'm coming. Where do you stand on that?
So are you talking about like the definition?
The fact that people call it esports, and I think people get upset when you say, well, it's not a sport. They think that you're belittling it, which is not my intention. I just think it's an unfortunate choice of words. I think it should be called competitive gaming or something. I don't know. I mean, I guess esports is a catchy title.
It is
to say the
catchy.
least.
It's like with poker. Poker is on TSN Sports.
Exactly, but is
not
poker a sport?
Not at all.
It's a fine game. It's a very difficult game, and it's a challenging game.
Yeah.
And I'm impressed with people that are good at it. But it's not a sport.
No.
And that's not belittling it. I actually quite enjoy poker, watching poker, than I do most sports.
I'm belittling it. It's just
well,
crapshoot.
I'm over here, so just crap on him. No, but so that's where I stand on that. So what's your final kind of takeaway from competitive gaming? What do you want to see moving forward with competitive gaming?
I want to see a strong base for competitive gaming. I want to see competitive gaming evolve into what you see with other professional sports leagues like the NHL or the NFL, where you have your specific teams that are competing against each other, and maybe I like to, this is a little bit maybe off topic, but I'd like to see an evolution of, instead of having like prize money as the winnings from the tournament, that instead you win, your trophy, and the players are all paid on a wage base instead. Just because, I think that would work better for the competitive gaming industry as a whole. For games in general, like, I don't feel like that the competitive gaming is going to take away from the games that are going to want to focus on stories and create those stories. Right now it is a challenge for them because, it's about being able to capture your audience's attention. So it's going to be an uphill battle, but just like, hearing The Last of Us, there are games that can definitely have very compelling and very solid gameplay at the same time, so it's definitely going to continue that way.
Yeah, I certainly hope it does. I mean, a rising tide raises all ships, which is really what I should take away from this, but I'm a little trepidatious when it comes to the games industry, but I certainly hope things get better. So, yeah, you actually came on to battle me from the comments to the video.
That's right.
There you go.
He's down.
I'm down?
You're down.